Hello world, my name is Tamaf Mshavito Risheju Adeyemi, the CEO of Mafi Tech Expert. I'm here to take you on HTML crash course, which precisely on HTML form. I will be taking you on HTML form. I will talk about how to implement this HTML beautiful form in any kind of web that you want to build. So we all know that form is essential in every website. It enables a user to enter input so that you can have user input from your site. So without form, you cannot have some data to collect from the client that visit your site. So as we continue on this course, so I will teach you how to implement an input element in our HTML form, how to style it even more beautiful than the way Bootstrap design his home form input. So I will start by teaching you input. I will teach you input placeholder. I will also teach you how to implement placeholder show. So as we code along, I will also teach you how to use after pseudo elements in the course of this course. So you will learn not element selection. So as we also code along, I will also teach you the hack checkbox, how to use it. So also I will teach you how to use JC selection. So we all know that radio button in every website, as the default it may be, is very ugly. So I will teach you how to design a radio button where anybody that visited your site and see the radio button, how you design it, they will fall in love with your radio button. So as we code along, this radio button we use what we call JSON selection or sibling selection to implement this radio button. And as we also code along, I will teach you how to use beautiful button in this form. So don't forget, as we code along, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So my name still remains Mr. Mafi Mshavito Risheju Adeyemi, the CEO of Mafi Tech Expert. So subscribe and press the notification button so that anytime I drop a crash course like this, you will be the first person to have the notification that I have dropped an information to the web, so that you will keep on abreast as information keep on rolling in the web. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, share the video so that you may know the latest development that is going on the IT technology. So thank you as we start. Hello class, my name is Mr. Mafimi Shebi Torisheju Adeyemi, the CEO of Mafi Tech Expert. We are about to start designing this beautiful, awesome form. As you can see, this is a form in any HTML, or depend on the pattern you want to design your form. So I'll be taking you throughout this series of this crash designing of this HTML form. As you can see, this is our header here. You can see beautiful rotates, and it have a design known as background clip that enable us to apply this linear gradient on the heading. So we use background clip to achieve this purpose. And as you can also see our form here, you can see when it is focused, you can see the border button shows red, which is that it is invalid. So when we start entering our input. As that you can see, let's assume I put a name, Dean. You can see full name, transition, slice down, and the border button become green because it's now what valid, because we have entered an input inside the input form. So when we delete it, you can see the full name will slide in and disappear. You can see it's sliding and the input become invalid. In order for us to achieve this name, we use a property known as placeholder shown. So with placeholder shown, we'll also achieve this particular purpose, that allow the label to appear whenever we type our input. You can see the way it slide in. So also this focus, when you type your input border button become green. We also use focus invalid property to also achieve that particular purpose. So let's go on. You can see we have burst shadow here. We also achieve that. So if you also look at our radio button, you can see in radio button, this is not the default radio button that we always have in form. So radio button is so ugly in such a way that even applying it in your form, many people preferring using select to apply gender instead of using radio button. So now I will teach you a beautiful way to replace the radio button. You can see the green border here. When we click the gender, you can see it fade in. That is an awesome. We can achieve this through the checkbox arc. That is what we use to achieve this. So if you click at the main gender, you can see it fade in and the main gender disappear. So we will use the checkbox arc to achieve this purpose. And lastly, if you look at it, our button, when we over the button, you can see it scale and it fade out. You can see that awesome fading. You can see we will achieve this also in this particular course. We will design it. We will use the pseudo element selection, which is the after pseudo element selection, to achieve this particular beautiful button. So I want you to stay focused and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, so that whenever I throw any beautiful course, you'll be the first person to get the notification, and also share this particular course so that you will be abreast with me whenever I throw in some latest awesome design as the industry required. So do not forget, my name still remains Mr. Mafi Shabi to reschedule Adeyemi, the CEO of Mafi Tech Production. So see you as we start coding. Welcome back. So we will start coding our beautiful form. So this is our HTML skeleton. So we have already set up our HTML skeleton and the CSS. So we will start coding our beautiful form now. So let's start. And we'll start with the main selection. Type main element. So after the main element, we have a class called container. So this is our class called container. Under the class container, we have what we call container image. So this, we have created a container image. Now, as you can see the way I name my classes. This is called BEM type of class selection. This is another class. So maybe as you stay focused, I will teach you how to use BEM to get a specificity in HTML and CSS, so that you have an accurate selection of your elements in the HTML. so that when you are styling in CSS, you will not have difficulty when you apply some certain style and you are not seeing the effect in the browser. So because there is not a good specificity. So with BEM pattern of class, you will have a good specificity. So I will also throw a class on that. So just follow me along as we code on this particular beautiful form. So we have done our container and container image. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to test it out if it is there. So let's type welcome all. So let's save. So you can see I click watch SAS. So this watch SAS compile our SAS to convert it to HTML. So I will also teach you that how to do that, so that you will have the knowledge of SAS also. But we are not teaching SAS in this course. What we are just dealing with is HTML4. So I will teach you SAS in other crash course. So I click what SAS, so it will compile automatic. So I'll now click what go live. So this is live SAS. So now you can see we have our welcome hall here, which means it's working. So let's start it now. Let's go to our CSS and see. You can see SCSS. So let's start it if it is working. Body, background, red. So save changes. So let's view it. You can see I did not refresh. It refresh automatically. So what make it to refresh automatically is this live server, which I use to go live. Is live server. We download the plugin live server in our code editor, Visual Studio Code. So live server will enable your browser to refresh automatic instead of you to click refresh all the time when you make changes in your code editor. So the SAS live SAS enable the code from SAS to compile to CSS automatic. So now our CSS is up and running. So before coding anything in CSS, we have to reset our default browser. You know, in our default browser have a margin, automatic margin of 10 pixels. So now we are going to get rid of that 10% by using universal selection to reset our browser. So now let's start with that. Universal selection, comma, now say universal selector sudo element after, comma, universal selector sudo element before. So let's reset it. Margin, get rid of the margin, and padding, padding 0. So now let's view it and see what we got before. Okay, it have refreshed automatic. So let's go back to our code editor. Our code editor, so let's view it. You can see it has touched the margin, which is it has get rid of it. So let me comment it so that you see the difference. So let's view it again. You can see the welcome here. You can see the welcome did not touch the margin at your left corner, the welcome hall. So when we reset it, the W, which is the welcome, will touch the edge, which is the margin. That there is no margin anymore. So let's comment. We save changes. So let's view it and see. You can see it has touched it. So that is how to reset our browser to the normal way we want it to be. So let's go to our code editor here. So we have reset our universal selector. The next thing we are going to do, we call it, let's select our HTML, which is the number one block of the HTML element. So you know our browser come by default font. Default font size of every browser is 16 pixels. So now we have what we call unit of measurement. So in HTML. We have so many units of measurement. We have pixel, we have rem, we have percentage, we have frame, so and so on and so forth. But in this course, we'll be using, we may likely use pixel and we'll be using rem. So now what we are going to do now, we are going to reset our default font size of our browser to 10 pixel. So how do we get that? So how we get that, since we want to use 10 pixel to represent one rem, because the rem is relatively to the root element, which is the parent element, and our parent element here is the HTML, so which is the browser. So now what we are going to do now, we want to reset it to 10 pixel, because by default the browser comes with 16 pixel. So how do we get that? We will now say 10, previously it's 16 pixel. If you look at it, that is the default. So now, and one rem now is equal to 16. One rem is equal to 16 pixel. So we want to set the 16 pixel to 10 pixel. So how do we get that mathematics? How to do that? We will now say 10 divided by, we say 10 divided by 16. So when 10 is divided by 16, what we will get, it will give us 62, 0.62. Yes, will give us 0.62. That's what we will get. So we will now convert it to percentage, which will now become 62.5%. So that is what we will get now. So we now set our font size to 62.5%. So now we can now comment this. Out. So this is how we reset our default browser font size now to 10 pixel. So now let's proceed. Let's set the body. The body now will now say font family. Font family, we say Korea. Font family, let's just take default here. So let's set the line height to 1.7. Let's set the color to gray 777. Box sizing, you can say border box. So at the default here, we can say box sizing. Yeah, let's come to the box sizing. Box size, you can say inherit. So let's come down. The next thing we'll do here, we now say overflow. We set it to hidden. So the last thing, we now set the font weight. We set it to 700. So we save changes. So I think we are up and running now. Let's view what we have gotten so far. So you can see the welcome has resized because it has gone from 16 pixel to 10 pixel, which is equal to 1 rem now. So now let's go. If we comment our font size in our HTML, you will see that the welcome all will be bigger than what it is. So you can see. So let's save changes. For having save changes. Let's view now. You can see it's bigger than what it is. So let's bring it back. So now it will be smaller. You can see it's smaller now. So let's start building our beautiful form. So now remember, in our HTML here, we have what we call container, which is the parent element in the HTML. So now we have what we call container. So now let's work on the container. Let's go to our SCSS here. Do now say container. So we have selected that class container. Now we want to apply our background gradient. Background, now say linear gradient. So what we will now say, we set the direction of the degree where we want it to go. So now say light blue, comma, then we now say light green. So we save changes. So let's view it now and see what we have gotten. You can see it has already applied. It has already applied. But why is it applied? It applied according to the content inside the element, which is welcome all, because we haven't applied height to it to occupy the full height of the viewport. So now let's go back and do that now. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to apply height. So let's say height. We are going to use 100 view height. So which is the full screen of the browser. So let's view it again. You can see it has occupied the viewport of the browser. So now let's go back and apply other things. Let's go to our HTML here. So let's get rid of welcome all. So go to our style again. So the next we are going to apply, let's apply padding. Let's apply padding to it. Padding. Our padding will be 7 rem. So let's apply box sizing. So you may likely ask me, why are we using box sizing? Box sizing simply means that when your child element is overflowing the parent element, the box sizing will calculate the border, the margin, and minus it automatic, and it will be fitted and contained inside the parent element. It will not overflow out of the parent element. So we now use what we call border box. So we save changes here. So let's view what we have gotten so far. So now we are good to go. We have not seen our padding effect now. So let's go to our HTML here. So we have created container image. So now we want to use our container image to apply the image to it. So let's go to our style here. So we'll use the BM pattern to select it, and the SAS. So now we'll now take image. So this ampersand here stand for container. So if you look at how we style it here, you can see container image. So the ampersand stand for container. So now we'll now type the width, because we don't want it to occupy the parent element 100%. We use what we call 110 rem, 110 rem. So which is 1100 pixel. So 10 rem. We now say margin. To margin here is to centralize it 0 auto. That is how to centralize a block element inside an element. So we now use what we call background to apply the image to it. So we use background. We now say ULL. We now say dot this, because we have to go to the root element because it's inside image. So we now use img. Let's select img6.jpg. So img6.jpg. So the next thing we are going to do here is to select the height. So the height is 55 rem. So let's go. The next thing we now say background cover. Background, we now put what we call background size. Background size, we say cover. Background size cover. Then we now say box shadow. We want to apply box shadow to it. So box shadow, we say 1.0 rem. We now say 1 rem. Then RGBA, now say 0.0,0,0.6. So which apply the black. So let's apply border radius. Border radius to it, we'll use what we call 0.5 rem. So let's view what we have gotten so far. If we are in the race, you can see this is what we have gotten so far. So we apply our image to it. This is the image here. So our boss shadow, let's view our boss shadow. So let's view it again, boss shadow. This is our boss shadow, and see the border radius. So let's view our prototype. This is our prototype. You can see it here. So let's go back to our building course. So let's do the boss shadow. It's like the boss shadow is not really applying very well. The boss shadow is not applying as much as we like. So instead of boss shadow, sorry, here we are saying border boss shadow. That is why it's not applying. Save changes. So let's do it now. You can see the boss shadow has applied. So we have applied our boss shadow. You can see the boss shadow here is all over the image. So now what we are going to do, let's take our look of our prototype. This our prototype. You can see the gradient that we apply that enable to achieve this diagonal line in the image. So we are going to apply that to this image. So we apply gradient background to the image and enable to achieve this effect. So let's go to our normal browser now. So let's achieve that effect now. So go to our code editor. In our code editor, this is our image here. So we apply linear gradient. So the first thing we are going to do now, we are going to use the direction. So the direction here will have what we call, let's use 103 deg, which is degree, comma. So the next thing we apply white, use white color, FFF, comma. Then the other one will now apply red. We apply red. So let's separate the gradient from the main image. So we use comma to do that. So we save changes. So let's view it in the browser. You can see the gradient now translate from white to red. So now let's have that. Let's take a look of the prototype. You can see this is solid. So let's make it solid so that we have this straight line. So let's go back to our code editor. So how to have that, we use what we call 50%. Then we'll come to the red here. We call it 50%. So which is half. Then let's view it and see. Let's go to our web browser. You can see it has divided into two. You can see the white, you can see the red. That is how to do that. So now we want this place to be transparent. A transparent also is also known as a color in HTML and CSS. So let's go back. Under this red now, we will type transparent, which is opacity. In other words, opaque, transparent. Transparent. So save changes. So let's do it. You can see we have achieved that. So that is how to go about that. So the next thing we'll be doing now, we'll be coding, is to start applying our form. This is it now. Start applying our form. So let's go to our HTML now. So this is our HTML. So let's start applying our form now. So the next thing we will do here is to type form. Say form. This form dot form. You can see form dot form. So going nowhere from now. The action is going nowhere from now. So we enter it. So the next thing we are going to achieve from this form, let's have our header. So our header with a class of form heading. So place it here. So from heading we have place. Type enter details. So let's view what we have gotten so far. So that is it. So we have gotten the heading so far. So the next thing, we are going to start styling the form. So let's go to our style now. So let's scroll down. So we are under, let's beat the container down. We are under form now. So let's select our form. So let's say the form, the width. Remember the width we are using. This is the browser. We are using the width of this container image. So we are using the half. So the half of it, which is 50%. So we have say our width is 50% because it's relatively to the parent element. So that is what percent does. So percent, and we have put the padding. We use the padding of 4M. So let's take a look of what we have done so far. You can see it has worked. So now we're going to start our form heading. So now start our form heading. We say form heading. That is form heading. So the next thing, we apply the form as a text transform, which is in form of either uppercase, text capitalized, as the case may be. So the next thing we apply now, we apply margin. We say up and down 1 rem, which as the y-axis, from the x-axis we say 0. So the next thing, we apply color. Our color, we use black. The color will be black, 000. So the letter spacing, we use .5 rem, then which is 5 pixel. The other one, we say font size. We say 3 rem. So the next thing we are going to do, we say font weight. Our font weight can use what we call border. So let's apply the background. So we use linear gradient to do that. So we use 105 deg, comma, then we say blue, comma, brown. So blue, comma, brown. So let's view what we have gotten so far. You can see it has applied to it. So now the next thing we are going to do now, is to apply our background clip. So let's view it. Let's go. Now say background clip. Now say test. So background clip test. So because of different browser like Chrome, Brave, Firefox and the rest, so let's use our WebKit. To achieve that, so background clip test, then now say color transparent. So let's view what we have gotten so far. You can see I've achieved that. So some cases you may apply what we call display inline block so that it will not expand out of the parent element. So inline block, we have done that. So now let's apply transition to it. So before transition, so we have to apply the over element, to it so that it will rotate. So we now say transform rotate to degree, then scale 1.05, then I say cursor pointer. Then we can now apply our transition to the parent. All 0.536 seconds, easy. Can use all these are the easy. So let's view what we have gotten so far. Let's see, you can see it rotating. So let's view what we got for our prototype. This is our prototype. You can see it's amazing. It's amazing. So now the next thing we'll be doing now, let's show prototype, is the input. So let's go to our element, which is the HTML, to start the input. So now the next thing we'll do now, we'll start with form input. Now we'll use the word form group first. So under form group, we now have input dot form input. Then under this form input, we have what we call required. Required simply means to validate the particular input. So to make it necessary, when user does not enter particular input, it will throw an error that particular input is required. So we enter input, let's use an ID. The ID is to link the input and the label together. We now say full name. So this is our input. So the next one will now have what we call label. Label.form label. So this is our full. Now we now say full name. So our label now we have what we call full name. Then also have placeholder. Let's put a placeholder. It's an attribute. Then we now put full name. So let's do what we have gotten so far. So you can see full name, everything is up and running. So let's go back and let's do our email. Let's do the one for the email. We have done for the input. This is for the email. So let's change the type to email, the ID to email, the placeholder to email, and the for to email. So the label to email. So let's do it. You can see this is what we have gotten so far. So let's do it again. Email. So let's start styling it now. So let's go to our form. Let's go to our form group, form group. The next thing we will have in our form group, let's use the word not last child selection here. Last child. So not last child selection. Then we now have margin bottom. Then we apply 1.5 rem. So that is for the form group. Then we have what we call form input. The form input, we now say font size. The font size, let's use 3 rem. While the width, let's use 85%. Remember, the width of the form is 50%. So 80% of 50%, because tell you an element depend on the parent element. So let's do what we have done so far. You can see the font size. Form input. So let's go down and see what we are doing so that we will not make an error. So let's take this out of it inside the form. So save changes. Let's do it. Cool. You can see it's working now. That is why we are not getting it. So you can see everything has applied from input. So this is our container. This is our container. This is our form. So form can use box sizing here, just as I told you now, border box. So let's go back. Form group. So let's use apply it here. The width of the form group. Yes. Put the width from the form group. So now let's view it. So let's increase the width. Let's increase it to 90%. Let's use 100% and see what we have gotten so far. 100%. Save changes. Let's go to the input. Let's use the font size now. Let's see. Good. So let's go to our coding. So let's check our form. Our form have padding. So let's check our form group. Let's put padding. Let's use 4 rem. Let's do it and have a look. So now let's change this place so that it will not affect to pay for individual. Let's do it this way. And let's check it out. So because it's still overflowing, so let's do the one for label. From label. From label. Display. Let's say block. And the input also, let's use display block. So let's take a look of what we have done so far. The block element now. Cool. It's at work now. Yes, guys, you can see our input is working now. Our input is at work. Then we now say under the input, now say bus sizing, border bus. So let's use what we have gotten so far. So let's check our heading. I think that margin button for the heading is too big. Margin heading. So for the group, let's use 1.4 here. The padding here, I think it's okay now. Let's use 2 padding here. Good. We are good to go now. We are good to go. Let's change the heading. The heading, the margin top and bottom to 0.5. 0.5. Yes, we are good to go now. So let's go back and continue with our input. So our input now, we say border no. So the next thing we now say border bottom. We now say 0.5 rem solid transparent. I will explain to you why we use the word transparent there. Then let's use padding. The padding we are going to use 1.6 rem in our padding here. So the next thing we are going to use, we use border radius. Border radius we use 0.5 rem. So the next we are going to use here, we are going to use bus shadow. Remember we say 0.5 rem, that is the standard. 1.1 rem RGBA, we apply this to it. So RGBA, we apply that to it. Then we now apply not last child element by using margin button 2M. So let's make correction of this place, get rid of this, save changes. Let's view what I've gotten. Cool. You can see. Let's correct the input. The padding is too much, and the font size. So let's change the font size to 2. So let's check it again. Okay. View it. Font size 4. So it's the padding now. We will adjust padding. Let's say 0.5. Save changes. Let's wait. Yes, we are good to go now. We are good to go. So I think let's adjust the font padding. Let's adjust the font padding. My font padding is much. Font padding, let's use 2. Yes, this is the input. We have gotten our input. So now let's work on the input. This is the input, form input. So now let's work on the form input. Form input placeholder. Form input placeholder. That is what we are working on now. We say color, change it to gray. And also use the word inherit there. Then the next you are going to need font size. You can see, if you view it now, you can see the font size is too big. So let's reduce the font size. Let's say 2M. Let's view it. Good. I think this is okay. 2M. It's okay. That is the placeholder. So let's work on the focus. Let's work on the focus outline. The outline. No. So you may not know what is outline. The outline, let me comment it and show you what is outline. So when it is focus, you can see the black line around the input. That's what they call outline. So we want to get rid of it. That's why we now use focus outline, get it to none. So the next thing now say border button. Border button, say 0.5 well, solid, light green. So let's check it out. You can see it's light green now because when it's focused. So when we remove it from focus, it will disappear. When it's focused, it becomes. So the next we are going to do is the invalid. Now say focus invalid. So we'll say apply this border here. But we'll now change it to light color. I will show the red. Light color. Good. So when you can see it's red now, when you type it become green. That's how to achieve that. So if you look at it, so you may likely ask, why do we use transparent How do we use transparent in this border button? If we comment it, if we use comment it, you can see it's moving up and down. You can see it moving up and down. When you remove the focus now, you see it will jump up. So that is why we have that pixel that we lost there. So we have to replace it back. So that pixel that we lost there, we have to replace it so that you will not have that movement. So even though it's focused, you do not see the movement. So that is why we apply transparency in that particular place. So now, because we apply it, let's make transition to it so that you will see the seamless of the focus. I'll try some transition to it. So transition for 0.5 seconds is used. So let's view it and see what I've gotten so far. Type, you can see we have gotten this. So the next we are going to do the placeholder shown. Let's start with the form label. Let's use the font size tool. So let's view what we have gotten. So things are good to go. So margin left, margin left. So let's use 1.7 well. Okay, it's too much. Okay, let's go to the input place order. Let's pad it, padding left, padding left. Let's use 1 well. So let's do it. Let's add to it 1.4 well. I think it's accurate now. 1.4 well. So the next thing we are going to do here now, let's go to our label. So you can see our label is good to go now. So we start applying input placeholder shown to it now. So let's get input placeholder shown. This, let's go to our prototype. This is what we want to achieve now. This is transition slide down. Let's get rid of it. Transition slide, this is what we want to achieve now. So let's go to our code editor. Our code editor will now say form input placeholder shown. So here we will use what we call adjacent or sibling selection. So let me show you why we are using this. You can see we have the group. The form group is the parent element of the input and the label. So the input and label here, they are siblings. They are child to the group element, and we want to select the label when the input is being keyed in data. So I want the label to transit by sliding down. So for us to do that, we cannot use it as a child because label is not a child to input. They are siblings together. So that is why we are now using the adjacent selection or sibling selection here. So now to do that, we use plus. Then when we use plus, we now select the sibling. And what is the sibling here of the input element? Because this is the input element, is form label. That is the sibling. So the sibling. So now the next thing we'll now type, we'll now say opacity. You say 0. Opacity 0. Then we'll now say opacity 0. Let's view what we have gotten so far. You can see it has disappeared. So when we type, it appear. You see, type appear. That is how to get it. It appear. So now let's do that transition. It says transition, translate in the y-axis. So the y-axis, let's say 6 rem. So we are taking it up. So minus 6 rem. So when we click, so when we type inside this input now, we'll see what will come out. You can see. So we can see it's coming out. Full name. Get rid of this. Type. You can see. So let's comment the opacity and see where our translation is. So let's get to the opacity. You can see they are in almost same place. So this is how to do that. So let's comment it now and comment the opacity. So now let's use our transition on our label so that it will be seamless on our label. Where is our label? This is our label here. So transition, which is the animation, or 1 second is as the easings. So let's view it again. Save changes. We have uncomment that. Yes, the opacity is 0. Save changes. Let's refresh. Let's see what is happening to my computer. Refresh. Let's refresh. See what is happening. So let's reload it again. Go live. Good. You can see it is seamless now. So all depends on the duration you want. If you put 1 second, it will take 1 second to transit. So you can see. Cool. That is how to achieve that. So the next we are going to look at now, let's look at our prototype. You can see the prototype is the input radio type. So the input radio type. So let's start coding the input radio type and see what we can achieve. So this is the input radio type. Let's go to them. Then let's copy the form group, copy it, then you paste, then you change the image to radio. Then from here we change here to radio. So but we have to have another class called form radio group. Then let's copy the label and put to it. Good. We are on our way. So then here we now say radio. Then we go to the radio. Placeholder. You say you don't really need placeholder here. You don't really need placeholder because it's a radio. You don't really. Then we now say main gender. That is our label. Then we now say form radio label. Form radio label is how we got it. Form radio label. You can see we have form radio group, form radio, and form radio label. So let's view what we have gotten so far. You can see this is the radio here. This is the radio here. So let's view it again. Let's copy the group. Let's copy the group, of course. Then here we can change it to female. Change it to female. Then the ID here we can now say radio 1 and radio 1. Save changes. Then there is an attribute we have to apply to the radio, which is known as name. This attribute we can use what we call gender. Then let's apply it here, name, gender. Save changes. So you can see the radio. You can see the radio. You can see it's an ugly radio. So we want to purify it now so that we have a seamless and beautiful radio button. So now let's go to our style. So this is our style now. We now say form radio group. So let's start form radio group. We now say display inline block. Then we now say margin left. So margin left we say 3 rem. So let's view it and see if they are in front of each other. So that is, they are not in front of each other yet. So let's comment the margin. Maybe it's the margin that is the issue. Form radio group. So let's take a look at our class and see where the fault is coming from. Form radio group. We have form radio group. It's form radio group. Okay, let's get rid of this. Sorry, I make a group 2 times. It will be better now. Yes, form radio group. They are inline now. So let's go back and start styling. So the next thing we are going to style now is the form radio. Form radio. So say form radio margin right. Say 2 now say display. We leave that first. We now say cursor. So okay, let's use the word pointer. So let's start the form radio label. Form radio label, and I say font size 2 text transform uppercase. Then you can see use cursor, pointer. So let's view what I've gotten so far. Cool. Think we are getting there. So now the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to our input. Let's go to our input. Under this gender, we'll create a span element that we will use for our pseudo. After pseudo element, we now say span, now say form radio, form radio span. So let's copy sim and paste the female side, save changes. So now let's start styling the span elements from radio span. So the next thing, let's give it a width of 0.5 well, height of 2.5 well, then border 0.5 well, solid light green. Then the next thing, say display inline block. Then we now say border radius, now say 50%, border radius 50%, now say transform translate in a y-axis 0.8 well. Then the next thing we're going to do now, say position should be relative. Then the next thing is cursor pointer. So let's do it. You can see it has appeared. That's what we have gotten for the span element. So now the span, let's do the work for the after element of the span. After element of the span. So the first thing we'll do is content. So because we have to apply this content, if not, it will not display. We now use height. So the height here, so before we use height, here, after here, let's say content. Let's get rid of the height first. Let's say content position absolute top 50% left 50%, transition, let's say transform translate, let's say -50%, comma -50%, then we now apply the width. Now the width, let's use 1.8 well, height 1.8 well also. Then we now say background, we use light green also. We use light green. Display it also inline block. then border radius 50%. Border radius 50%. Let's view it now. You can see it has occupied everything. So now let's increase this. Let's say we increase this to 9, the border here to 9. Let's view it and see. Yes. So let's decrease this to 6, this to 6. So see the glorious style. You can see it appear. So let's reduce the border. The border is too enormous. The border is too enormous. Save changes. So let's do it. Okay, that is the height. I'm sorry, that is the height. I'm talking about the border. This is 4. You can see we have gotten our seamless body. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to hide the input. So let's go to the input now. That is the radio, form radio. So let's say this opacity, let's say 0. So let's say display. Let's use the word display. No. Okay. Good. Display no is no longer there. So now we're going to use display now. Let's go to after of the span and change the opacities to 0. Opacity 0. So let's view what we have gotten so far. You can see it's no longer there. So it's no longer there. So we'll stop here, continue. We check arc. Let's form radio check. So while we are seeing form radius check, so every radio and checkbox you have to check it. So when the radio button is checked, so we have to use what we call our JSON selection. If you look at our hierarchy here, you can see we have the radio here, which is the form radio. We have the sibling. The sibling is form radio label, and form radio label will now have a child called form radio span. So that is how we now use to select it. So how do we do that? You now say select the form radio. When the form radio is checked, then you select form, which is the sibling, form label, form radio label, which is the sibling to form radio. So then you now select form radio. Be careful how you do this so that you will not have error. Select the form radio span. So when you select the form radio span, we know that form radio span have an after element. You now select the after. So we select the after. So now we're applying the after. The after, remember we said the opacity of, you can see the opacity of the after is 0. Then we now say opacity is changed to 1. Then for we to achieve that seamless movement, we now say transition. You apply the animation, transition animation, or 1 second easy in art. Let's use this easy in art. So let's check if we are in order. When we click here, when we check, which means remember the radio is hidden. If you look at it, the radio is hidden. Let's go to the radio. Is the radio display none? So but if we check it, because remember the label, if you click here, the label will have the same attribute, which is the ID. They are linked together. You can see the four elements link it. Anytime you click anything here, it means that you are clicking this because the ID link them together. So now let's check a look of it. If we click this female gender now, the after element of the label span will display because this label is linked to the radio. So let's click and see. You can see it fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. If it's too slow, you can increase it. You can increase the speed. That means the timing. You can increase it to 500 milliseconds. So you can see fast. Good. That is how to achieve that. Then you click here, type. You can see. Yes, we have achieved our check arc. So the next thing we are going to do now is the button. Next we are going to do now is what is button. So how do we apply button to it now so that everything will be done with this our seamless beautiful form. So now let's go to our input. So let's select the form group. Take a test. Test center, save changes. So let's tie that. Test center, test align center. Let's align center. Then let's create the button now. That's a form. That's a element. That's a form btn, but form btn white. Save changes. Then we now type explore. So let's view it. Save changes. So style it. So let's say color. Style say color 000. So let's do what I've gotten so far. Let's go back to our HTML forms. Like something has gotten wrong. Container image. container image. Then now form. Okay, good. So that's where our error lies since. So you can see our Explorer now have shown up. So that is our error. We have sorted that out. So this is going nowhere. We save changes. So now let's start our form BTN. This is our form BTN. Form BTN. Form BTN. Link. Visited. Now say test decoration, set it to null. Set decoration, we set it to null. Now say font size, set it to 3 rel. Color, I think we have settled that color. Now say display block. Good. Text transform, uppercase. Text transform, uppercase. So let's go to form that group. Let's still reduce that group. I think the height is too much. Good. Exploit. I think we are good to go. So let's change the color to white. Color is white. Color is white. Border radius is 10. Then border radius is when. Then save changes. Then let's go down. Let's say form BTN white. As a background. Let's use this. We say 008 ED6. So let's do what I've gotten so far. Good. Now let's change the weight. To 85%. 85%. Okay, nice to go. 85%. I will display block. Okay, margin 0 auto. So let's do it. Okay, I think we are good to go. We have padding, so let's apply padding to it. Padding 1 when 0. Cool. We are good to go. So let's do the state of over and active. Can use TM over and active. Then let's transform, translate y point to where. So can now apply transition now. Apply transition. 1 second is burst shadow, 0.5 rem, 5 rem, 1 rem, RGBA. So that is burst shadow. So now let's start styling the board white. So we have achieved that. Now say from BTN white after. From BTN white after content, you can say content, let's say this. Then background, you can use background, you can say inherit. That's from its parent, you can say inherit. Then let's start doing that seamless brush. Let's take a look of our prototype. So if you take a look of our prototype, you can see as you hover, you can see zoom, scale and fade out. So let's do that now. Let's do that. How to apply that when I say from BTN after. Let's select from BTN after. From BTN after, you can see from BTN after content. So after the content, you can now say width. Let's use width 100%. Height 100%. So let's view and see what I've gotten so far. Does not display. So let's start applying everything. So display, block, border, radius, get rid of this border radius. Then when, so let's do it. So I've gotten still be as it is. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to make it now. Let's take the after now. Let's use color called red so that we see what we are doing. So let's do it and see if red would appear. If red will appear. So let's make some correction here. Let's take this, let's apply it here. So let's go to from BTN white after. That is what we are doing now. So before we get that with 100% height, 100% display block. So let's set the position. Let's set the parent element here. Position. If you want to put it there, position relative. Then let's go to the after element and change the position to absolute. So let's do it. Good. You can see because of the position we have seen it has shown now. If you look at it, it's relative to this. So what we are going to do now is to change the top to 0, because in position we use the top, so you can see it has gotten it. Then we can say left also, so that they will maintain the same aspect ratio. So 0. So now let's view it. You can see that display. So now we're going to use Z index to send it to back. So let's say Z index. This one is topmost. You can see 1. Then it's after element. You can say Z index. You can say -1. Then let's view it. As it doesn't cover it, it's at the back, so you can change the color now since it did not cover. Because you know that it come before. Let's change the color now to inherit. See? Good. That's inherited. So the next thing we are going to do now is to apply. Let's check our parent, our prototype. You can see when we hover. Let's get to know it's over. You can see that scaling. I feel that scaling. Feel that good. That's what we are going to do now. So now, the next thing we are going to do now is when we over the form element. When we over the form element. When we over form element. That's when we over form. When we over form. Over form element. Then we now select form btn after. So we now say transform scale 1.1. So let's see if that will work. You can see scaling. You can see scaling. Good. That is working. Then we'll scale in y-axis. We'll also scale in x-axis. The x-axis, let's say 1.2. While the y-axis on top and bottom, we use 5. So let's read. Cool. Let's change it to 3 or 4. So changes, it's too big. 3. Let's use this one 1. It will be better than scaling now. Scaling. That is at work. Then we now say opacity. That seamless fade out. And that will enjoy our job. Is it fading out? It's not fading out. Why? Because we have to apply the transition. After we have to apply transition to it, because without the transition it won't work. 1 second easy. That transition it won't work. Now it will work. You can see the way it's fading out. So let's increase the y-axis to 5. You can see. Cool. You can see this is our beautiful button. Congratulations, we have made it to the end of the class. So I want to thank you for staying with me for creating this beautiful course. Don't